Have you ever noticed that the most confident person in the room is not always the loudest? They are not the one desperately trying to prove their intelligence, interrupting every conversation, or demanding everyone's attention. In fact, real confidence often enters a room so quietly that many people don't even recognize it at first. Yet, within minutes, everyone begins to pay attention. People naturally make space for them, trust their opinions, and feel their presence without fully understanding why. This isn't magic, luck, or privilege. It is the silent language of the human body. Before you speak a single word, your posture, your movements, your eyes, your breathing, and even the way you occupy space are telling a story about who you believe you are. The fascinating truth is that people rarely respond to what you say first. They respond to what your body silently announces long before your voice reaches them. If your body communicates uncertainty, hesitation, or fear, your words must work twice as hard to convince anyone. But when your body communicates certainty, calmness, and self-respect, people begin believing in you before you've even introduced yourself. That is why understanding body language is not about learning tricks to manipulate others. It is about removing the habits that quietly convince the world and eventually yourself that you are smaller than you truly are. The moment you understand this invisible conversation, you stop chasing confidence because you realize confidence is something you communicate, not something you wait to feel. Most people believe confidence begins inside the mind. They spend years trying to think positive thoughts, repeating affirmations, waiting for courage to appear before taking action. But psychology repeatedly shows us that the relationship works in both directions. Your thoughts influence your body, but your body also influences your thoughts. Consider how your mood changes when you are exhausted. Your shoulders fall forward, your breathing becomes shallow, your eyes drift downward, and your energy disappears. Now imagine intentionally reversing every one of those signals. You straighten your spine, relax your shoulders, breathe deeply into your diaphragm, lift your chin naturally, and allow your face to soften. Within minutes, your brain begins receiving a completely different message. Instead of interpreting your physical state as fear, it starts interpreting it as stability. This is because your nervous system constantly listens to your physical behavior. Your body is speaking to your brain every second, telling it whether you are safe or threatened. When your body acts as though danger is everywhere, your brain follows that script. When your body behaves as though you belong exactly where you are, your brain slowly begins accepting that reality. Think about the people who leave a lasting impression on you. Chances are it wasn't because they were speaking non-stop or showing off their achievements. It was because they seemed comfortable in their own skin. They weren't rushing to fill every silence. They weren't nervously laughing after every sentence. They weren't constantly checking whether people approved of them. Their comfort became contagious. Human beings are deeply influenced by emotional contagion. We unconsciously mirror the emotional state of those around us. When someone appears calm under pressure, our own nervous system begins calming down as well. This explains why true confidence is magnetic. It creates emotional safety. People naturally trust individuals whose actions remain steady even when circumstances become uncertain. Confidence is not loud because certainty has no need to shout. Insecurity often disguises itself as excessive talking, constant bragging, or dramatic gestures, while genuine confidence is remarkably economical. Every movement has intention, every word has purpose, every pause has meaning. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing speed with competence. They walk too fast because they fear appearing awkward. They speak too quickly because silence feels uncomfortable. They gesture excessively because they think constant movement creates excitement. Yet psychology reveals something interesting about perception. Calm, deliberate movement is consistently associated with authority. Someone who moves without rushing appears to have control over both themselves and their environment. Imagine watching two speakers walk onto a stage. One hurries nervously, adjusts their clothes repeatedly, avoids eye contact, and begins talking immediately. The other walks steadily, pauses naturally, surveys the room with relaxed attention, smiles gently, and begins speaking only after settling into the moment. Before either person has shared a single idea, your brain has already formed an opinion. These rapid judgments are automatic because human beings evolved to evaluate safety within seconds. Our ancestors depended on quickly deciding who appeared capable, trustworthy, and emotionally stable. Those instincts still operate today, even in modern offices, classrooms, interviews, and relationships. Your posture communicates more than physical alignment. It reflects your relationship with yourself. When your shoulders collapse inward, your head lowers and your chest closes. Your body unconsciously protects itself. This protective posture sends signals of vulnerability. On the other hand, standing tall does not mean exaggerating your size or appearing rigid. Real confidence is relaxed. The shoulders remain open rather than forced backward. The spine lengthens naturally rather than becoming stiff. The neck remains loose. The chest opens because breathing becomes easier, not because you are trying to impress anyone. This distinction matters because people can immediately recognize forced confidence. Authentic confidence looks effortless because it comes from comfort rather than performance. The goal is not to become someone else. The goal is to remove unnecessary tension that has quietly become part of your identity. Breathing is perhaps the most overlooked element of confident body language. Anxiety creates shallow breathing that stays high in the chest. This pattern keeps the nervous system prepared for danger. It accelerates the heartbeat, tightens the muscles, and narrows attention toward perceived threats. Unfortunately, this state also changes how you appear to others. Your voice becomes thinner, your facial muscles tighten, your movements become hurried, your eye contact weakens. Many people spend years trying to sound more confident, without realizing the real problem begins with the way they breathe. Slow, deep breaths taken from the diaphragm communicate safety to your nervous system. As your breathing slows, your speech naturally becomes more deliberate. Your voice gains depth, your face softens. Even your decisions improve because your brain has more access to rational thinking instead of operating purely from emotional survival. Eye contact is another misunderstood aspect of confidence. Many people believe confident individuals stare intensely into another person's eyes without looking away. In reality, this often feels intimidating rather than reassuring. Healthy eye contact resembles a calm conversation rather than a competition. Confident people maintain attention without forcing it. They comfortably look away occasionally before naturally reconnecting. Their gaze is curious instead of aggressive. They are listening rather than calculating. Eye contact becomes powerful when it reflects genuine interest instead of an attempt to dominate. People remember how seen they felt during a conversation far more than they remember specific words. When someone feels genuinely noticed, trust grows almost automatically. Your hands reveal emotional states that words often hide. Notice what happens when someone feels insecure. They begin touching their face repeatedly, adjusting their clothing, rubbing their neck, tapping their fingers, or hiding their hands completely. These behaviors are known as self-soothing gestures. They temporarily reduce anxiety, but they also reveal it. Confident individuals tend to keep their movements purposeful. Their hands remain visible because visible hands have long been associated with trustworthiness throughout human history. Hidden hands create uncertainty because our brains instinctively wonder what is being concealed. Open gestures communicate honesty, cooperation, and emotional availability. This doesn't mean eliminating every nervous movement. Everyone experiences anxiety occasionally. The difference lies in awareness. Once you notice these unconscious habits, you can gradually replace them with calmer alternatives that support rather than undermine your presence. Another subtle sign of confidence is the ability to tolerate silence. Silence frightens many people because they assume it signals failure. They rush to fill every gap with unnecessary words. Ironically, this often weakens their message. Silence allows ideas to breathe. It gives listeners time to absorb what was said. It demonstrates that you are not afraid of stillness. Confident speakers understand that communication is not measured by the number of words spoken, but by the impact those words create. A thoughtful pause before answering a difficult question communicates composure. A brief moment of reflection before making an important point creates anticipation. Instead of fearing silence, learn to use it as part of your communication. People often interpret thoughtful pauses as intelligence because they suggest careful consideration rather than impulsive reaction. Perhaps the most transformative realization is that confidence is less about convincing other people and more about ending the habit of constantly judging yourself. Many people enter every social interaction carrying an invisible mirror. Instead of observing the room, they continually evaluate themselves. They wonder whether they sound intelligent, whether people like them, whether they appear awkward, or whether they said the wrong thing. This relentless self-monitoring creates tension throughout the body. The shoulders tighten, the jaw clenches, the breathing shortens. The eyes become restless. Ironically, the more attention you direct toward yourself, the less connected you become with everyone else. Genuine confidence grows when attention shifts outward. Become curious about people instead of obsessed with being evaluated by them. Listen more deeply. Observe more carefully. Ask thoughtful questions. As your focus leaves your own insecurity, your body naturally begins relaxing, and the confidence you have been searching for quietly begins to appear. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped standing in its way.